In a world overwhelmed by emotional turmoil, manipulation, and unbalanced relationships, many of us feel trapped, unsure of how to find peace. We fear letting go of certain connections, even when they seem to poison our lives. What if I told you that, in the wisdom of Stoicism, there is immense power in learning to release such ties, even if those relationships are with family or friends? You see, Stoic philosophy doesn't ask us to isolate ourselves from others, but rather to seek authenticity, growth, and inner tranquility. And sometimes, achieving that means having the strength to walk away. In this video, we will uncover 11 profound signs that it may be time to end every contact with someone who hinders your personal evolution. These insights, rooted in Stoic principles, will help you gain clarity and empower you to make the difficult but necessary choices for your own well-being. By the end of this journey, you will have a deeper understanding of when to let go and how to embrace a more peaceful, meaningful existence. Stay with us until the end, because what you'll learn may change not only how you see your relationships, but also how you live your life. Now, let's dive into the first sign that it's time to reconsider a relationship. 1. When the relationship prevents acceptance of reality. Reality is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. As the Stoics remind us, accepting life as it is, not as we wish it to be, is essential to living a life of virtue and peace. But what happens when a relationship keeps us tethered to illusions? When someone we care about promotes denial, encourages fantasies, or distorts facts, they prevent us from facing the truth. Have you ever found yourself making excuses for someone's behavior or ignoring clear red flags because you want to believe the relationship is different than it truly is? Do you cling to promises that are never fulfilled, hoping that things will eventually change? Such relationships are dangerous because they distance us from a genuine understanding of ourselves and others. By maintaining a connection based on illusions, we risk losing touch with our own reality. This detachment can lead us to make decisions based on distorted perceptions, which can harm not only our mental health, but also our capacity to grow and make sound judgments. The Stoic approach to life teaches us to deal with situations as they are, not as we wish them to be. In relationships, this means recognizing when a bond is built on false hopes, or when we are avoiding the hard truths about someone's character. We must ask ourselves, is this person helping me see the world clearly, or are they dragging me into a web of delusion? This isn't about blaming the other person. It's about acknowledging that a relationship based on denial is unsustainable. To live an authentic life aligned with Stoicism, we must have the courage to face reality head-on, even when it means cutting ties with those who refuse to see the truth. As you reflect on your own relationships, consider this. Is there someone in your life who keeps you stuck in an illusion? What would happen if you chose to confront that reality? What would change for the better if you did? Recognizing when a relationship prevents you from accepting reality is the first step towards regaining your freedom and clarity. And once you've reclaimed your sense of reality, it becomes much easier to move on to the next sign of a relationship that may be holding you back. 2. When communication consistently fails. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. Without it, misunderstandings arise, frustrations fester, and resentment takes root. Yet, how often do we stay in relationships where communication is consistently poor or even non-existent? Have you ever felt like no matter how much you try, you're either not being heard or every conversation turns into a conflict? When communication fails, the relationship suffers deeply. From a Stoic perspective, clear, open, and respectful dialogue is essential for harmony, not only within ourselves, but with others. Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the importance of rational discourse, urging us to always seek understanding and peaceful dialogue. However, In some relationships, communication becomes one-sided or dominated by conflict, creating an unbalanced dynamic that drains us emotionally. If you are constantly met with silence, avoidance, or hostility when trying to discuss issues, it's a sign that the relationship lacks the foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Are you the one always initiating the conversations while the other person remains passive or defensive? Do you find that discussions rarely lead to resolution, but rather escalate into further misunderstandings? In these situations, the Stoic value of self-control comes into play. While we cannot control how others communicate with us, we can control our response. The question becomes, is this dynamic conducive to your inner peace? If every conversation leaves you feeling exhausted, unheard, or misunderstood, it may be time to reconsider the relationship's place in your life. Imagine this. What if you were free from the constant cycle of failed communication? How much more space would you have for relationships that bring understanding and mutual growth? Reflect on the people in your life. Are there relationships where communication consistently fails, despite your best efforts? The ability to communicate effectively is not just about speaking, it's about listening, understanding, and finding common ground. When this fails over and over, the relationship ceases to serve either party and instead becomes a source of continuous frustration. It's important to ask yourself, how long will I continue to invest in a relationship where communication is broken? Will I have the courage to step away, knowing that it may be the only way to preserve my peace and integrity? As we move to the next sign, remember that communication is not a one-way street, and if you find yourself walking it alone, it may be time to consider walking away entirely. 3. When destructive emotions dominate the relationship. Destructive emotions like anger, jealousy, and resentment can overwhelm any relationship, clouding our ability to think clearly and act virtuously. In the Stoic tradition, Marcus Aurelius taught us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful message is particularly relevant when we find ourselves in relationships dominated by negativity. Have you ever been in a relationship where every interaction seems to spark anger or frustration? Do you feel trapped in a cycle of jealousy, bitterness, or resentment that seems impossible to escape? Such emotions, while natural to experience, can become toxic when they dominate the relationship. And when these emotions take control, we lose sight of the Stoic principle of inner peace. Imagine being free from the constant emotional turbulence that these relationships bring. What would your life look like if you were no longer consumed by negative reactions to someone's words or actions? Stoicism teaches us to rise above these destructive emotions, to understand that while we cannot control the behavior of others, we can control how we respond. Yet, in relationships filled with constant emotional turmoil, even the strongest of minds can find it hard to maintain balance. Ask yourself, is this relationship causing me to experience destructive emotions more often than not? Do I spend more time feeling angry or jealous than I do feeling calm and centered? If the answer is yes, it might be time to question whether this relationship is aligned with your pursuit of inner peace and virtue. Ending a relationship plagued by destructive emotions isn't easy. There may be moments of doubt, fear, and guilt. However, in order to preserve your emotional health and well-being, it's a step that must be taken. By removing yourself from the source of these emotions, you create space for healing and for relationships that promote positivity and growth. Remember, this journey is not about perfection, but about progress. If the relationship consistently brings out the worst in you, it's a sign that your peace is being compromised. And according to Stoic wisdom, nothing is more valuable than the tranquility of the mind. As you reflect on this, Stay with us. There's more to come. We'll continue exploring more signs of when it's time to let go, and the next one is particularly important for your personal autonomy. At this point, I encourage you to stay with us until the end of this video, because what we'll uncover next could be the key to unlocking your personal freedom and peace. Now, let's move forward. 4. If you are being manipulated or controlled. One of the most serious signs that it may be time to end a relationship is when manipulation or control becomes a dominant force. Stoicism teaches us the importance of autonomy, being the master of our own lives. Epictetus famously said, "No one is free who is not master of himself." This simple yet profound statement highlights the importance of self-governance, especially in relationships. Have you ever felt like someone in your life is always trying to steer your decisions, influence your thoughts, or dictate your actions? Manipulation can come in many forms, from subtle emotional control to overt coercion. When someone else starts to dictate your behavior, it erodes your sense of self and personal freedom. The Stoics believed in the pursuit of personal virtue, and that includes making choices that reflect your values and beliefs. But in relationships characterized by manipulation, your freedom to make those choices is compromised. Are there people in your life who criticize you constantly, isolate you from others, or impose their decisions on you without considering your opinions? These are clear violations of your autonomy, and Stoicism calls us to reject such influences. Your path to virtue and wisdom cannot be walked if someone else is holding the reins of your life. Think about this. Are you truly living in accordance with your own values, or are you constantly being swayed by someone else's control? What would it feel like to reclaim your independence, to make choices that reflect your true self without fear of judgment or manipulation? Breaking free from a controlling relationship is an act of courage and self-respect. It's a statement that you will no longer tolerate behavior that diminishes your autonomy. It may be difficult, especially if the manipulator is someone close to you, but the journey to personal freedom is essential for living a life of virtue, as the Stoics would advise. As we move forward, ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values, or am I being controlled by someone else's will? Reflect deeply, for this awareness may be the key to unlocking your true freedom. 5. If there is a lack of mutual respect. Mutual respect is a non-negotiable foundation in any healthy relationship. When respect is absent, the relationship becomes unbalanced and often harmful. Stoicism places great emphasis on the dignity of individuals. A relationship devoid of respect not only violates this dignity, but also erodes self-esteem and emotional well-being. Have you ever been in a situation where your opinions were constantly dismissed, your needs ignored, or your feelings undermined? A lack of mutual respect often manifests through these subtle yet damaging behaviors. Stoic teachings remind us to treat others with the same respect and consideration we expect for ourselves. But if the respect is not reciprocated, the relationship quickly deteriorates into a one-sided dynamic that serves neither party. Think about your relationships. Is there someone who consistently shows disregard for your feelings or boundaries? Do you find yourself giving respect but not receiving it in return? When respect is lacking, communication breaks down, trust fades, and resentment builds. According to Stoicism, relationships should be based on equality, understanding, and mutual support. When respect is absent, it's impossible to maintain a healthy balance, and continuing in such a relationship can be emotionally draining. As we move forward, take a moment to reflect on the relationships in your life. Are you experiencing mutual respect, or are you constantly being devalued? What would change if you prioritized respect, both for yourself and from others? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a relationship where mutual respect was missing? How did it affect you, and how did you handle it? Your insights may help others going through the same struggle. As we continue, we'll explore the next important sign, a crucial indicator that could be limiting your personal growth. Stay with us for more. 6. When the relationship hinders your personal growth. Growth is at the core of Stoicism. The Stoic pursuit of wisdom is lifelong, and every relationship we maintain should ideally contribute to that growth, not stifle it. But what happens when the people we hold dear begin to hold us back, instead of pushing us toward becoming our best selves? Have you ever felt that you could be much further along your path if only a certain relationship wasn't weighing you down? In the words of Seneca, friendship that can end was never real. It's a hard truth, but one we must confront. Relationships, whether they are with family or friends, should challenge us in positive ways and support our pursuit of virtue. But some relationships only serve to keep us stuck in cycles of stagnation, fear, and complacency. Are there people in your life who make you feel small, who dismiss your ambitions, or who try to keep you at their level rather than encouraging you to rise higher? Sometimes these people may not even do this consciously. Perhaps they are fearful of change, or perhaps they are so entangled in their own limitations that they feel threatened by your growth. Regardless of the reason, Stoicism teaches us that we cannot afford to let anyone divert us from the path of self-improvement. Think about your personal goals. Are you working toward becoming wiser, kinder, and more virtuous each day? Now, reflect on the relationships in your life. Are they helping you along this path, or are they pulling you away from it? Stoicism encourages us to surround ourselves with people who uplift us, challenge us in meaningful ways, and respect our quest for betterment. If a relationship prevents you from moving forward, it may be time to reconsider its value in your life. It's important to remember that this is not about blaming others for our lack of progress. We are always responsible for our own actions and choices. However, recognizing that some relationships are holding us back is crucial for regaining control of our trajectory. Ask yourself, how much further could I go if I let go of this relationship? What kind of people should I seek out to replace these ties, those who will encourage my growth and challenge me to stay on the path of virtue? As we move into the next section, keep this question in mind. Are your relationships helping or hindering your personal growth? Let's explore another critical sign that may signal it's time to walk away. 7. When the relationship does more harm than good. There are times in life when the emotional toll of a relationship outweighs any possible benefit. Toxic relationships, those filled with negativity, constant conflict, or emotional abuse, can drain you of your energy and peace of mind. Have you ever felt that a certain relationship leaves you feeling worse after every interaction, even though you still care deeply for the person involved? Stoicism teaches us that our inner tranquility is more valuable than any external relationship, and we must fiercely protect it. When we allow ourselves to remain in relationships that consistently harm us, physically, emotionally, or mentally, we betray our own well-being. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Yet, when a relationship becomes toxic, it often leads to automatic emotional reactions that are far from the calm, rational responses Stoicism promotes. Toxicity can come in many forms: constant criticism, manipulation, unresolved conflicts, or even outright disrespect. These elements erode your mental and emotional health over time, and in extreme cases, they can affect your physical well-being as well. Do you notice yourself feeling more anxious, insecure, or drained after spending time with someone? Do arguments seem to never end, and do you feel trapped in a cycle of negativity? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that things will improve or that you can change the person over time. However, Stoic wisdom tells us that we cannot control others, only ourselves. The responsibility for how a person behaves lies with them, not with you. If a relationship continues to harm you, despite your best efforts to maintain peace, it may be time to step away for your own health and sanity. Have you ever thought about how much more peaceful your life would be without this toxic relationship? What could you achieve if you redirected the energy spent on dealing with these constant conflicts towards something more productive or meaningful? As we prepare to move to the next section, remember this: protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. The Stoics understood that a mind disturbed by toxic relationships cannot focus on the pursuit of wisdom or virtue. 8. If you are compromising your values. Your values are the foundation of your identity. They are your internal compass, guiding your actions, decisions, and how you interact with the world around you. One of the most dangerous signs that it may be time to end a relationship is when that relationship requires you to compromise your deeply held values. Stoicism teaches us to live in harmony with our values, for without this alignment, we are betraying not only ourselves, but the very essence of what it means to live a virtuous life. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt pressured to do things that went against your sense of right and wrong? Perhaps you found yourself tolerating behavior that you would normally find unacceptable, or staying silent when you should have spoken up. Compromising your values for the sake of maintaining a relationship can leave you with a deep sense of inner conflict and discomfort. Stoicism urges us to act with integrity, to ensure that our actions are always in line with our principles, regardless of external pressures. But when someone close to you demands that you abandon your values in order to maintain harmony in the relationship, they are asking you to sacrifice a part of yourself. In the long run, this will erode your sense of self-worth and dignity. Reflect on this. Are there people in your life who consistently push you to compromise your values? What would it feel like to stand firm in your beliefs, even if it meant walking away from relationships that don't respect your principles? Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from staying true to yourself, not from pleasing others at the expense of your own integrity. As we move forward, remember that living in accordance with your values is one of the highest forms of self-respect. The next sign we'll explore deals with reciprocity in relationships, a key component of any healthy bond. 9. When the relationship is not reciprocal. Reciprocity, the mutual exchange of support, care, and effort, is crucial to maintaining a healthy relationship. Stoicism teaches that in all interactions, we should give without expecting anything in return. However, this does not mean that we should tolerate relationships that are consistently one-sided. Have you ever felt that you're always the one giving, while the other person takes and rarely reciprocates? A relationship where one person constantly gives and the other only receives creates an imbalance that can lead to feelings of resentment, exhaustion, and devaluation. Stoic philosophy teaches us to practice balance in all aspects of life, and relationships are no exception. When the scales are tipped too far in one direction, it becomes unsustainable. Think about the dynamics in your relationships. Are you always the one offering support, initiating contact, or making sacrifices? Do you feel that your needs and contributions are not being equally valued or acknowledged? If so, it's a sign that the relationship lacks reciprocity, and over time, this imbalance can wear you down. Reciprocity doesn't mean that everything must be equal at all times, but there should be a sense of mutual respect and effort from both sides. When one person is always giving while the other remains passive, the relationship turns into a burden rather than a source of mutual growth. Reflect on this. What would happen if you stepped back and allowed the other person to take responsibility for their share of the relationship? Would they step up, or would they let it fade away? Stoicism encourages us to let go of attachments to things that do not serve our growth, and this applies to relationships as well. In the next section, we'll delve into a more serious issue, one that must never be ignored. Let's continue. 10. If there is any form of abuse. Abuse, in any form, physical, emotional, psychological, or financial, is never acceptable in any relationship. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value ourselves and our dignity above all. Being in an abusive relationship is a direct violation of this fundamental principle. It is not only an affront to our well-being, but also a denial of our self-worth. Have you ever found yourself justifying abusive behavior, thinking that things will get better, or that you are somehow responsible for the other person's actions? Abuse thrives in silence and secrecy, and the abuser often manipulates their victim into believing that they are the cause of the problem. But Stoicism teaches us that we are not responsible for others' actions, only our own. No one deserves to be treated with cruelty or violence. Recognizing that you are in an abusive relationship is the first step toward freedom. It takes immense courage to admit that someone you care about is harming you, and even more courage to take action to protect yourself. Stoicism tells us to act in accordance with our highest values, and that includes self-preservation. If you are in an abusive relationship, it's crucial to seek help from trusted friends, family, or professionals. You do not have to go through this alone, and you do not have to stay in a situation that endangers your physical or emotional health. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of courage and self-respect, and there is no greater act of courage than standing up for your own well-being. As we approach the final sign, remember that protecting yourself from harm is not only your right, but your responsibility. Let's explore the last sign, one that lies at the heart of Stoic wisdom. 11. When the relationship disrupts your tranquility. Tranquility, or inner peace, is one of the highest goals in Stoic philosophy. A mind disturbed by constant external turmoil cannot focus on the pursuit of virtue, wisdom, or fulfillment. If a relationship constantly disrupts your tranquility through conflict, stress, anxiety, or insecurity, it is a clear sign that it may be time to let go. Have you ever noticed that after spending time with someone, you feel emotionally exhausted, anxious, or unsettled? Do you find that the relationship brings more stress than joy? Stoicism teaches us to protect our inner calm above all else, because without it, we cannot live a balanced, meaningful life. It's important to remember that seeking tranquility is not an act of selfishness. It's an essential part of living in alignment with Stoic principles. If a relationship consistently disturbs your peace of mind, it becomes a barrier to your personal growth and well-being. Ask yourself, how would my life change if I no longer had to deal with the constant emotional turmoil caused by this relationship? What new possibilities would open up if I were able to focus on cultivating peace and tranquility instead of managing stress? Letting go of relationships that disrupt your tranquility is an act of self-care and respect. Stoicism encourages us to make decisions that promote our well-being, even when they are difficult. As we've explored, these 11 signs are not about isolation, but about growth, self-respect, and the pursuit of inner peace. Stoicism offers a timeless guide for navigating relationships with clarity and strength. By recognizing these signs and making the courageous decision to walk away when necessary, you reclaim your autonomy and protect your tranquility. I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your relationships. Are there any connections in your life that no longer serve your growth or well-being? If so, it might be time to act with the wisdom of the Stoics and let go. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What experiences have you had with these signs, and how did you handle them? Let's continue this journey of growth and wisdom together. Thank you for watching, and may your path be filled with clarity and peace.